Hi, I'm Dick Eydt with Bites by Eydt. We have a catering company in Atlanta, Georgia, and we travel outside of Atlanta up to New York, Connecticut, Nantucket, down to Florida. And most recently, last week, we did a rehearsal dinner and a bridal lunch in Crossville, Tennessee. So today we're going to do a couple of my fan favorites. A seared tuna with a wasabi cream sauce. And then we're going to make pasta, homemade pasta, and we'll make our homemade simple tomato sauce to go along with that. So let's begin with the wasabi. Cream sauce. Move this out of the way. And we'll start with a shallot. And when I do shallots, I like to use a serrated knife. It makes it easier with the teeth to grab and pull away the skin. It makes just a faster time for it. So I like doing that. I know you guys like our little tips and tricks that we do, so I want to thank you for that feedback. I also want to thank you all for watching my show. With Eat This TV, we have 450 shows on the platform, and we are number 4 out of the 450. So I appreciate you guys. Look forward to our second season that we're doing now. So I'll just dice these. I cut these just like I do with the onions. And then make one insertion and a second one, and then we'll make a nice little dice. We'll saute this up in a little olive oil along with garlic, and then we'll add our white wine and our cream. I think that's enough on that. Again, with the garlic, we'll smash it, and then we'll take out the pith so nobody burps and repeats themselves. It makes it nicer. So there's the pith that delivers all the strong flavors. Like to take that out. Again, we learned that from Blued. I learned that from my brother, who worked for him. We worked together at Windows in the World Trade Center. My brother teaches me a lot of good tricks. Later on in the shows, I had gone out to Seattle to pick up some more recipes and some ideas from him. So far I've done about 36, 40 items, and I picked up another dozen from him. So I was out in Seattle. It was phenomenal weather, and it's always good to see my brother. Has a super restaurant, Rogers Riverview Bistro in Snohomish. Okay, so there we go. Put a little of the Calavita olive oil in the pan. We'll saute this for, about a minute. Not too hot. I don't want to burn it. I'll do the shallots first. That's enough. Once that cooks down, I'll then do the garlic. We'll just give that a minute or two to cook down. In the meantime, I'll start prepping the tomatoes for the sauce, just coring them out, and we'll do a rough dice. So when you have the sauce, you get a nice piece of tomato in there. I don't want to puree it, but I do want it at a certain thickness so they can bite into it and taste it. So something like that with the meat, I think is plenty good. I can hear the shallots in the background, so I'll give that a little stir in a second. Let's go back and take a look. Looking nice. Another minute or so, I'll turn down the heat, add the garlic and the sauce. So with the tuna here, I always bring it out to room temperature. So you can leave it out for half hour, hour. But when you sear it, we'll just quickly sear it on the top and the bottom, maybe on the sides. It'll be cooked on the outside and a nice medium rare on the inside. I always buy sushi grade tuna when I do this, and you want it as fresh as possible. And I serve this mostly as a hors d'oeuvre, appetizer. Sometimes my clients want it as an entree. That's fine, but it's a nice dish to have. A little unusual with the wasabi sauce. Has a little bit of heat to it, which everyone likes, and who doesn't like a little cream and a little butter, and then some heat to it. Okay, let's take this off. Nice coloring on that. I'll turn down the heat and I'll add a little bit of the garlic to it. Since it is pretty hot, I'll keep it off the heat and just let that cook a little bit. I don't want the garlic to burn, just to release the flavors. Another minute off the stove. I'll turn down the heat on this to a simmer. Okay, so now we have some nice start to it. I'll make a little bit of a roux to it, so it'll thicken up nicely. Maybe a teaspoon. Mix that in there, help thicken it up. You can see the nice coloring on that. All again, off the stove. We don't want to burn anything. It smells great. It's pretty. Add the cream to it. Couple of tablespoons. Again, this is for one. I'm going to put this back on the heat, and after this reduces a little bit, I will add the wasabi sauce. Put the heat up a little bit. The wasabi is a powder. It's how they make the wasabi at a sushi restaurant. You could buy it at any grocery store, and it's a horseradish, so it has good flavor. When I finish off the sauce, I will add the butter, and I'll make sure that the butter is cold. It helps to thicken it up when you add cold butter to it. So you can see how nicely this is thickened up. Add a little bit of the wasabi, stir that in. For this amount of portions, it's probably a good tablespoon or so. It'll get a nice little green color. It'll add some good heat to it. Now I'll add the butter. Like I said, the butter had been in the refrigerator. Add a couple of pieces to it. We'll stir that around and see how that goes. We'll bring it back onto the heat. Melt the butter. This will just take a second. I'll whisk it around and put that back on the stove. I'm going to add a little more cream to thicken it up some more. Okay, so my wasabi sauce is ready to go. With the tuna, I'll pat it dry, put some salt and pepper on it. You can never put too much pepper on this. If you want to, you can also use sesame seeds, black sesame seeds. Some more pepper on this side. And when we sear it, it's in maybe a minute, 2 minutes tops. I'll press that in, add a little oil. It's not too hot, so I can use extra virgin olive oil. So you can see the nice color that we're getting on that. And also it's cooked maybe a 1/4 of an inch through. We'll sear the other side. And that was down for a minute, minute and a half. And then you have the option, if your guests want it cooked a little bit more, cook it some more. And I'm gonna just shake it loose a little bit. And you can see the nice coloring on that. And I'll do the sides just for 5 seconds. And this side and that side. And there we go. Turn off the heat. I didn't put the tuna on the table here. It was on the cedar plank, so there's no cross-contamination, but you still want to wipe it down. Okay, that looks nice. And when we cut it, we're going to cut it against the grain. So, a nice sharp knife, good color. Take your time cutting it. When I cut these pieces, that's a good, almost a 1/2 inch thick. I don't want to go too much thinner than that. I don't want to go too much thicker. So it's a nice bite-sized piece. Okay. I'll take the cream and put this down. I typically like my sauces on the bottom so you can actually see the fish and see whatever the entree it is. It looks prettier that way. And let's plate up the tuna. Okay, do it at a diagonal. Get a nice little cross there. One more piece. Okay, a little bit of salt on the top and a little bit of pepper. And there you go. A nice seared ahi tuna with the wasabi cream sauce. It's great for appetizers, main course, simple, and in the summertime the fish is abundant, so enjoy. Okay, so now let's make the fresh tomato sauce. Let me move a couple of items here, get organized, and I'll cut the onions. We'll do some shallots, and we'll do a little garlic, fresh tomatoes, basil, add a little tomato paste, a little bit of salt, pepper, a little white wine. We'll see. You know, with the tomato sauce, you can do anything you want with it. It's like making a stew. Make it to what you like. And this is how I like it. I like it simple. I do like having a little sugar in there to sweeten it up. And I also like to have a little bit of spice in there too. You could add some jalapenos, you could add some serrano, chilies, or just something as simple as a Tabasco sauce. But I always like a contradiction. I like to have a little sweet and a little fiery. I think it makes it more interesting. So we'll do 2 onions, diced up, not a fine dice, not a coarse dice, but a medium, maybe a 1/4 of an inch or so in thickness. 2 slices on the side, come down. Makes it so easy to cut the onions, no tears, and we're good to go on that. I'll do a shallot. Again, cut it in half, cut it just like I did with the onions. A little bit of a smaller, maybe a 1/4 of an inch or so in thickness, and make 1, 2, and 3 cuts along there. And then I can cut that down. There we go. Our onions, our shallots are ready to go. I'll do 1 garlic. I don't like too much garlic, but I think 1 clove of garlic is good. As we always do, we take out the pith to it. There you go. This is a good example of it. You can see the pith is going to start right here. I'll take that apart. Since I smashed down pretty good, it comes out easily. And here's a good picture of the pith. It is this piece right here. It's sort of a white piece. And I'll just take that out, throw it away. and do a fine chop on it, and it'll have the good flavor, but people won't be burping up the garlic. So we're ready to saute this in the saucepan. A little Colorado extra virgin olive oil in the pan. Okay, so let's add some onions to it. Nice sizzle there. Let's add some shallots. A little salt and pepper. Helicopter again. There we go. So it's already starting to get some nice color around the edges. Great aroma. Once this becomes translucent, I'll add the garlic and turn down the heat, and then add the tomatoes to it. So as you can see, it's a lot of onions, it's a lot of shallots, which I like, and some tomatoes, and it'll be a lot of basil. It's going to turn out nicely. If you want to add more tomatoes to it, please do, but this is how I like to do it. I'm going to take it off, add the garlic, take it off the heat, and I'll stir this back in, off the heat. I don't want the garlic to burn, but I want the aroma to be released. Now I'm going to go back and add the tomatoes. Saute this up. I will turn down the heat to about a medium. So you can see the consistency here. It's about 2/3 tomatoes and 1/3 onions, shallots, and garlic. Okay. Add a little bit of sugar to it. Half a teaspoon of sugar. And I'll add a little bit of tomato paste to it. A good tablespoon. Give it a little body. Stir that around. Get the heat up just a tad. So I'm going to add a little bit of wine to it. Give it some more body. Maybe a quarter of a cup. Bring this up to a boil, and then we'll let it simmer. So that is good to go. Turn down the heat to about there. And I'll let that cook for 10-15 minutes. Okay, once again, clean as we go, and we are going to make the basil chiffonade. Take off the basil from the stems. We're going to then roll it and then cut it. We'll put part of it in the sauce, and then we'll put the other part as a garnish. You know, summertime here in New York, and the basil is plentiful and very fragrant. Again, it's a very simple recipe, simple sauce, but fresh tomatoes, fresh basil. It's this is what you want for a nice summer dish. Okay, we'll take them out, put the big pieces on top of each other. Fold it up, roll it like you would a cigarette or something else that you roll up. That's good enough. Take it and roll it as tight as you can, and then cut it lengthwise into small little slivers. This basil will go in the sauce, just a coarse cut. It's on a nice low temperature. You see it's starting to come together. It's nice, has a nice little sauce to it, nice thickness. It took 5-10 minutes to make. Put it back on the heat. Okay, we just cooked the pasta for about 9 minutes, plated it, and now we'll put the sauce on. Give this a little stir. Great color there. You get the oranges, the yellows, the greens. And then we'll garnish it with a little chiffonade of basil. And there you go. A nice, quick, easy, homemade pasta sauce with a chiffonade of basil. So there you go. Enjoy. I want to thank my sponsors. You have to use the Calavito extra virgin olive oil and Little Leaf Farms salads. Thank you and look forward to the next show.